Hey everyone, it's Enchanted, and I wanted to talk to you guys about Katy Perry's position in the music industry. So, if you guys are familiar with Katy Perry, you would understand why so many people are shocked as to how far and how fast Katy Perry has fallen from grace from being one of the biggest stars of the mid 2000s. She went from having hit after hit to, now barely even being able to chart inside the top 70. So in 2008, Katy Perry started her chart prowess with I Kissed a Girl, which peaked at number one and is now eligible for 9 times platinum. She also released Hot and Cold, which peaked at number three, now eligible diamond. 2010 is when we started to see the continued success and absolute chart dominance of Katy Perry. She started having back-to-back number one hits with California Girls, Teenage Dream, Firework, and E.T. And last night, she broke the record for having the most number one songs by a female artist on an album and tied Michael Jackson, the king of pop. If this wasn't impressive enough, most of these songs are diamond, which accompanies a diamond album. Teenage Dream itself was a diamond album. So almost five diamond records on a diamond album. That is insane. So these songs were everywhere back then, especially since radio was more prevalent. My parents didn't even listen to pop radio. I didn't really hear that many pop songs, and I'm familiar with all these Katy songs, so they were everywhere. She continued her chart dominance with Roar in 2013, followed by Dark Horse. Both of these songs, again, inescapable, and they kind of further solidified Katy Perry's as the biggest hit maker of that era. She even had, she went head to head with Lady Gaga that year, and she beat Lady Gaga, and Lady Gaga was a force back then. She's still pretty big. She's maintaining her relevance through acting and stuff, but back then, Lady Gaga's music was huge, and Katy Perry ended up coming up on top. So, um, you know, the only thing is, after that Prism era, we started to see an extreme drop in Katy Perry's charting success. So she was charting, but just nowhere near as dominant as what she was. And unlike her peers like Beyonce, Rihanna, and Lady Gaga, she was unable to evolve her sound, to allow for her continued success. She had a huge image shift, which displeased a lot of the general public, which she used to sing with. Uh, the general public was used to seeing Katy Perry with, that dark black hair, her blue eyes, uh, and now they're seeing kind of this self-proclaimed edgy bangers Miley Cyrus ripoff kind of, not to go in on her, but that's what, she was reminding a lot of people of. And each new release by Katy Perry after this, it just performed worse and worse. This year was supposed to be her big comeback year, kind of similar to Mariah Carey's Emancipation of Mimi era. However, it looks like Katy Perry has once again fallen short with her new release, Woman's World. I listened to the song. I didn't think it was bad. Definitely not as bad as what people were saying, but I did expect a stronger song for such a much anticipated and needed chart topping comeback. She had the hype and she dropped the ball again. Um, One of the biggest reasons for this is because people found out that Woman's World was produced by Dr. Luke. If you guys aren't familiar with Dr. Luke, he is an extremely successful producer who is more so known for his, now he's more known for his affiliation with Kesha. Kesha had alleged that Dr. Luke was abusive physically, mentally, and sexually to her. Dr. Luke helping produce Katie's song Woman World is kind of ironic, given what he's been accused of, and many people boycotted streaming the song because of that. Now, I understand that Katy Perry has worked with Dr. Luke in the past, and she has been very successful with him, but she needs to learn to read the room. I don't know why the record label wouldn't have seen this coming. Like, I feel like anybody would have seen that this is an obvious thing that would happen. This backlash would be so obvious. I don't know why they would even risk it. I will say that musical contracts can be kind of complicated, though. I remember people were coming at Doja Cat for working with Dr. Luke because he was credited on her album Scarlet. But it was revealed later that he had nothing to really do with the project, even though he was credited on it. From my understanding, Dr. Luke has producers under him. So, whatever they produce, I've heard that like contractually his name is automatically attached to. And so I'm wondering if that might have to do with his or Katy Perry's affiliation with Dr. Luke currently. Maybe he didn't work. look, I don't know, maybe he didn't work as closely with her as what we're thinking, but you know, I don't know. I've heard that contractually he could just attach his name to certain projects. But I don't know why he would want to. I'm just like, you realize that you're gonna bring that project down. Like, wouldn't you, if you were Dr. Luke, wouldn't you like just want to be behind the scenes? Like, people are looking for your name. They're seeking your name out. So why are you so, I mean, maybe he's just prideful, but I don't understand why he's so obsessed with getting credited. Just I don't know. It makes no sense. Uh, and I think people are mad at the fact that Katy Perry is a veteran in the game. So she has a lot of pull. She can work with any producer, any of the top producers. So they're like, why work with Dr. Luke, who's, accused of such horrendous things, especially on a song that's supposed to empower women? It just makes no sense. She definitely has more pull than Doja Cat or, some of the newer artists. You can work with anybody. You've been a veteran in the game. So she could have easily decided not to work with Dr. Luke and instead, from a plethora of thousands of great other, producers in the music industry, but she chose to stay in her comfort zone. I think another factor into Katy Perry's overall decline in commercial success, and lots of people don't talk about this aspect, but I think this was like the main reason to me. It's just the fact that her music is just too palatable. I mean that this like it's just too general. It's too when your music is for everyone, it relates to nobody. So Katy Perry has, often relied on the general public for her hits. Everybody knows that, or, knows her songs. Everybody's familiar with her, but that has caused, an extreme. She lacks an extremely dedicated fan base, basically. She has fans, of course. I know her residency did really well. But she doesn't have fans like a Beyonce or a Rihanna, Nicki, a Gaga, Ariana Grande. She doesn't have fans that dedicated. Her music isn't deep enough to connect with people, and her talent was never the attraction point. So, we have seen her peers get into scandals time and time again. Like most recently, Nicki Minaj and Ariana Grande have gotten into some public scandals recently. Nicki Minaj is constantly embroiled in some type of drama, and Ariana, was earlier this year was had a lot of home wrecking allegations against her, but their fan bases are so strong that it really doesn't affect them too much. There's going to be people that are going to say, oh, I'll boycott. But at the end of the day, their fans are going to push through. They have a ton of buying power. They're going to support Ariana Grande and Nicki Minaj, regardless of what they do. Katy Perry doesn't have that kind of fandom dedication. And it looks like the general public that she relied on in the past for her hits have moved on to newer, fresher artists, via Sabrina Carpenter. So this leaves Katy Perry in a weird place where she doesn't know who she needs to appeal to. She can try and do something different, but when she tried last time, with the Cyrus haircut, people weren't really messing with it. She tried to give a nostalgic throwback this time. People were still saying that the sound was played off or it was outdated, things like that. So from what I hear, Katy Perry's team is scrambling right now. They're in the planning stages and trying to figure out, what to do next, how to market this album next. I don't really know how or if she can come back from this. I mean, it was, when people get that first initial reaction to your era, that's kind of how they stay. So their mindset stays. It's kind of hard to convince people once they already have this perception of you kind of on this downward spiral, and this was supposed to be your comeback, and it still failed to, make noise or have any impact outside of it, people just trashing it. You know what I mean? So I don't know how she could come back from that. But she is releasing her album later this year, so it'll be interesting to see how it performs and if her team can actually turn this around. Like always, I want to know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Did you like Women's World? Do you think she deserved the backlash that she got? Or is she just a victim of contractual obligations? I don't know. Did she make the mistake of not developing a hard die or a die-hard fan base earlier that will support her once the fickle general public moves on? That I think that's the main problem. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.